The bright side of addiction is recovery. And recovery is living proof. Hi, everybody. I'm Neil Scott, and if you're new to our podcast, we welcome you. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Now, if you're in recovery or know or love someone who is, or you simply want to know more about the recovery process, or maybe you're a bit concerned about someone you know or love who is harmfully using alcohol or any other drug, this is the podcast for you. We carry the message of hope and the promise of recovery. And a reminder that you can find all of our podcasts at recoverycoasttocoast.org. Recent episodes have featured interviews with singer-songwriters Judy Collins and Peter Yarrow, NFL legends Thomas Hollywood Henderson and Ryan Leaf, authors J.A. Jantz, Anne Lamott, and Brene Brown, Broadway legend Ben Vereen as well, plus conversations with everyday people in long-term recovery, sharing their story, their insight, their path. Now, in this edition of Recovery Coast to Coast, we're going to visit with young Ashlyn Beery. She's a woman in recovery whose life was repaired, her family restored, and the chain of addiction broken. Now, here's a quick clip from my conversation with Ashlyn.
I get to enjoy my life. I get to live a life. Page 164, A Vision for You. It says, clear away the wreckage of your past and join us in the fellowship. But may God bless you and keep you until then. When that rope dropped, I grabbed it, and I'm grateful for that. I've been that mom, that wife that was holding on to a secret that didn't know where to turn to. So let's advocate for the women, for the family members, the teachers, anyone that is struggling that can't talk about it.
My conversation with Ashlyn is coming right up. And we will conclude our podcast with some wonderful words of wisdom, words about recovery from a great actor who found long-term recovery, Lou Gossett Jr. And before we continue, I want to remind listeners that September is National Recovery Month, with an incredible number of events and activities in every single state. You can check out what's happening where you live and participate in the community of recovery. You can find all the information about National Recovery Month at facesandvoicesofrecovery.org. That's a great, inclusive organization. And also at the government's website, that's the SAMHSA website, www.samhsa.gov/recovery month. September and every month is a great time for all to stand up and celebrate recovery. Our website is Recovery Coast to Coast, and if you'd like to help us out financially or know of a foundation that might be interested in underwriting our program, we'd love to hear from you. We'd be so grateful. A reminder, our email address is recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Recovery Coast to Coast, supported by the good folks at Sundown M Ranch, one of America's oldest, least expensive, and most successful treatment programs. They're listed in the Newsweek magazine recently released 2024 list of America's top treatment programs. Now, treatment for addiction is serious business. It could mean the difference between life and death. So it stands to reason that you should find the very best facility to send your loved one to, or perhaps it's you who needs treatment. But the point is, if you want the best possible chance at achieving long-term recovery, you need to pay attention and do your research. And that's the goal, of course, of Sundown M Ranch. They're a nonprofit facility, not for profit, so their bottom line is not financial. It's long-term recovery. And they have been successfully treating individuals and families for over 55 years, one patient at a time. The staff at Sundown takes great pride in their long-standing reputation of assisting individuals and family members through a very difficult process, and they do that with compassion, respect, and confidentiality. And oftentimes, alcohol and other drugs are not the only problems. Many individuals have co-occurring mental health issues, and Sundown M Ranch is professionally able to treat matters involving dual diagnosis. Sometimes funding can be an issue and can be a barrier to treatment. Well, Sundown understands that. They can work with you, including helping you to secure financing through Prosper Healthcare Lending. That's the premier financing company in the behavioral health field. Sundown's worked with them for many, many years. Good results. And of course, Sundown is in network with most insurance companies. An admission specialist can quickly obtain a quote for the patient. Their staff is amazing. Sundown's theme continues to be the patient is the reason we are here. Check out their website for more information and take a look-see at their facility, which is not far from Seattle, sundown.org/gallery. Sundown M Ranch, where recovery begins. Yes, it is coffee time. I invite you to join me for a cup of Java or whatever your non-alcoholic beverage of choice is. I'm excited to share a conversation that I recently had with Ashlyn Beery, whose life spiraled down and then was mended back together in the rooms of recovery. Let's listen. Welcome back once again, Recovery Coast to Coast. Neil Scott here, and here happens to be in San Antonio, Texas, at the 50th annual conference. You know, a lot of treatment programs, a lot of groups around the country have conferences. They may have them 2 or 3 years because of financial difficulties and membership and all of that, sponsors, they don't keep it going. This has kept going for 50 years. And I've been honored for the last 15 years to come down here and be the master of ceremonies and to do the radio show from here, where I get a chance to catch up with old friends and to meet some new people as well. And one of those new folks is Ashlyn Beery. She is involved with professional relationships and marketing at Kima Palms Recovery, which is in Kima, Texas. Ashlyn, welcome to Recovery Coast to Coast. You've been in recovery for a year. You're a newcomer. Your eyes are wide open, and the changes must be happening amazingly fast. Tell me about it.
Well, it just kind of got me a little emotional when you said my eyes are wide open. That is very true. I am grateful. So when they say we ask for a miracle, well, first of all, I didn't know that you could ask for a miracle. And so when we ask for a miracle, I learned that sometimes a miracle is just a change in perspective. And I really desperately needed a change in perspective on many different areas in my life, especially my marriage, and then just how I've different things that went on. And so this year has been, like you said, eye-opening, and my eyes are wide open.
And your heart is wide open as well.
Yeah.
You were married for, what, about 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then things started to fall apart.
It did.
And alcohol may have been involved.
Yes. Yeah. 2 people who didn't understand that they had a disease, that they were sick, and that was just part of our story. When you take on as a wife, so we have Al-Anon and we have AA, and there's a chapter in the book called To the Wives.
Yes.
And I can get down with Lois. But guess what? When we separated, the problem was still there. And it was with me.
Yeah.
And my pride and my ego would not allow me to see it. So a few things happened, but what is happening today is that I know the truth, and the truth is that, the things that, I have a lot of strong will, but one of my things that it says in the book is if I'm presently an alcoholic, then I will be presently presented with a new world.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I'm never alcoholism. I'm presently an alcoholic, and my alcoholism goes with me everywhere. And
your recovery goes everywhere
with
you.
It does. It does go everywhere with me. So when we separated, going back to that, and what had happened was I had a spiral down, and that's okay. It's just more flavor to my story. But today, our kids are benefiting from the recovery that both my husband and I are in.
How old are your children?
They're 9 and 5.
Wow.
Boy and girl.
Oh, and they've got, in a sense, new parents.
They have new parents. We're breaking generational habits. We both come from long lines of heavy drinkers, fallen women, and gamblers.
Holy smokes.
We're from Louisiana and Mississippi.
Whereabouts in Louisiana?
Lafayette. Yes,
Ah,
and from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi,
oh
Gulfport,
my
Mississippi.
goodness. Tell me about how you got into the rooms.
It was a call that I made, that I knew that I was either going to, well, lose my children and lose my family, or it was a turning point,
Mm.
and I'm not really sure what happened, except I can only describe it like this: the sky opened and a rope dropped, and I grabbed it.
And hung the hell
And I
on.
hung the hell on, and I made a phone call, and they got me into a treatment center, and I stayed there for 90 days.
Wow. What was that
Yeah.
like for you, Ashlyn?
It was very challenging, and it took 90 days because the first 30 days I refused to see my part.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't have a part.
Yeah, yeah.
And they say, if you had my life, you drink too.
You were working Ashlyn's program.
100%.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
usually will if I don't ask for guidance every morning, you know?
So when you get out of treatment, what was that like for you? I mean, you're now going back into your old world, and where the only thing you have to change is everything.
Right, right.
And you were telling me that your husband
Yes.
also got sober at the same time.
Yes. So I took a lot of fellowship from different people.
Wow, yeah, I'm sure.
And allowing ourselves to be open about where we were in our marriage.
Mhm.
It takes help, and it takes helping others, and it takes moments like this, sharing. We both went to a place where it was a comfortable place to do uncomfortable work. This is a continuous thing that we try to do, and when we respond from a place of hurt, we also can return to love, and that is one of the values in our home, is that we always return to love.
That's a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
Always returning to love.
Mhm.
I would assume that your recovery is getting better week by week, day by day, month by month.
Yes, awareness, a conscious contact with our Creator
Yeah.
is what I seek. It is my sufficient substitute. It says we find a sufficient substitute, and that sufficient substitute is connection and honesty and seeking and curiosity. It says among us we will receive a miracle.
Mm.
So if I'm leaving you guys, or if I'm coming to you guys, I'm safe and protected.
Yeah.
I must stay among you. And it says that it's broad and roomy, never exclusive, always inclusive. It's just join us.
What does recovery mean to you today?
What does it mean to me today? Well, it means I get to enjoy my life. I get to live a life. Page 164, A Vision for You. It says, clear away the wreckage of your past and join us in the fellowship. But may God bless you and keep you until then. When that rope dropped, I grabbed it, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what will happen next, but I'll grab any rope.
Well, it's recovery enhancement. I always talk about, in treatment, they talk about relapse prevention.
Yeah.
I don't use that word. I talk about recovery enhancement.
Mm.
I want to know how your recovery today is better than it was yesterday, and how it's going to be better tomorrow. It's a process. Alcoholism, addiction is progressive in a negative sense. It is only going to get worse unless you get treatment and that process is stopped. Recovery is the same way, in a positive way. Each day gets better, or should get better. Now, shit happens, sure.
Yes.
It happens to all of us. But dealing with it without alcohol and drugs takes on a whole new dimension. And as you move forward, you're now working professionally in the field. Does that blow your mind?
Blows my mind. Blows my mind. It's amazing.
How did you get involved with Chemo Palms?
I got involved with Chemo Palms. I was presented with this opportunity to come on and build relationships and just be a point of contact. And that when I go out in the field, I just want to be a point of contact in our community, that if you know someone who is struggling, give them my number. Let them call me. Let's get them somewhere. I've been that mom, that wife that was holding on to a secret that didn't know where to turn to. So let's advocate for the women, for the family members, the teachers, anyone that is struggling that can't talk about it. When they have my number and they're sitting with me, this is a safe place.
Yeah.
And so what would help you? And then also, when we're going away for 30 days, what are we doing in those 30 days? This is taken away from business owners, from their kids, from their family, from their life. So we're trying to enhance their life. Recovery enhances my life. I want to enhance your life. And so that's what I got with the Chemo Palms, and they we share the same values on how we want to help people and help families.
Tell me about Kima Palms.
So Kima Palms is on 6 acres. It's a beautiful property. We keep it very simple. We are a 12-based program, and we have equine therapy starring Cassie, and this is something that the clients like to enjoy. It gets out of the step work, out of the rooms, and gets outside and connects with nature. And that is something that we usually don't do. And sometimes it's hard to connect with people because in our addiction or our alcoholism, we were lonely. We did not connect. So sometimes connecting with nature or with horses or animals is our first connection, and it allows us to open up to people and start really making some changes.
How many beds there?
We have 70 beds.
70 beds?
Yes, that's including our detox.
It is in Kima Palms, Kima, Texas. Where exactly is that?
Kima is right below Houston, and we're very close to Galveston. So we're between Houston and Galveston.
And if listeners want to find out more about that, KimaPalms.com. It's KEMAH Palms, PALMS.com.
Yes.
They'll find out more about it.
Yes.
Ashlyn, you have a beautiful story, and you have a beautiful smile, and you have a beautiful sense of recovery.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
The bright side of addiction is recovery. You embody that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Ashlyn Beery. By the way, I want to remind listeners of this podcast, if you'd like to tell your story of recovery, regardless of the path you've chosen, as long as you've been in recovery, continuous recovery, for a year or more, drop us a note at recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Coming up next, some recovery insights from award-winning actor Lou Gossett Jr. That'll be in just 30 seconds.
Alcohol is running your life. You want help, but can't take time away from work to get it. Where do you turn? Contact Sundown M Ranch. Sundown M Ranch outpatient programs have helped thousands recover from addiction without losing time on the job. Nationally recognized for innovative, effective, and affordable treatment programs, Sundown M Ranch will help you put your life back on track. Go to www.sundown.org to learn more.
And now, as promised, some inspirational thoughts from a man who lived in long-term recovery for many, many years, Lou Gossett Jr.
We have already made a lot of progress in clearing away the wreckage of the past. Among other actions, we've written and shared a personal inventory, made amends, and released many of our resentments by forgiving the people who harmed us over the years. But what about forgiving ourselves? Even if we have considered self-forgiveness, some of us were unwilling to follow through. We may feel we deserve guilt for our past wrongs. Holding on to it is a kind of punishment, a way to keep ourselves under our own thumb. We fail to see that self-forgiveness is as necessary as any other step we've taken to come to terms with the past. When we finally do forgive ourselves, it can have dramatic and lasting impact on our lives. The memories of our past wrongs are drained of their power to cause us pain. We are able to truly accept the fact that we are no longer the person we used to be, and our self-image can then be revitalized and brought up to date. Thought for today: I too deserve forgiveness.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Recovery Coast to Coast, the national podcast. If you've enjoyed our podcast, we invite you to please share it with at least one other person. That would really help us a lot. If you'd like to get in touch, our email is recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Also, please subscribe, and you can do that by hitting the subscribe or follow button. It's free, and you'll be notified the next time we publish a podcast. If you're considering treatment for a friend or a loved one, be sure and visit NAATP.org/AID. That's their list of treatment programs that adhere to the strict ethical guidelines. And of course, one of them is Sundown M Ranch, but there are a lot of other programs as well. And remember, if you know someone experiencing problems with alcohol or any other drug, here's a 24-hour national helpline that offers free information and confidential treatment referrals. Spanish-speaking individuals available as well. 1-800-622-HELP. And we encourage you to check out findsupport.gov, one word, It's a website designed for individuals, family members, friends, including information on how to pay for treatment, including low cost and some free treatment options. Find healthcare support there as well, how to help someone else, or find help for yourself. It's all in one place, findsupport.gov. And join us next time for America's Voice for Recovery, Recovery Coast to Coast, the national podcast. And another shout out to our sponsoring organization, Sundown M Ranch, where recovery begins. Sundown.org. And remember, September is National Recovery Month. Celebrate and hopefully get involved. All the information is at facesandvoicesofrecovery.org and at samhsa.gov, that's samhsa.gov/recovery-month. I'm Neil Scott, reminding you to stay healthy, live in gratitude, and be kind to others. Remember, the bright side of addiction is recovery. Pass it on.